Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to cut out one of my dressmaking patterns. Okay, to start with, what's going to happen is you will print out all the pages of the pattern that you're going to use. And let's see, make sure when you print that you look at the top of the page and it's going to tell you how many pages you should have, so make sure you have all the pages. Okay? Now, you can do this one of two ways. Get a really sharp pair of scissors for cutting your paper. We're going to take our first pattern piece. Now, if you notice, or you will notice, you have little crop marks on each pattern piece. And they're in all four corners, so it shows you where to line up each piece of your pattern. Okay? I'm going to use my handy dandy little cutting board here so I can cut straight on the line. So I'm just lining up my edges, those crop marks. I'm lining those up, and I'm just cutting off that edge piece. It just makes it a lot easier when you have to line all this up. Let's see. Gonna do the next one, and let's see, line that up too. Because remember, these pattern pieces are going to be bigger, larger than the piece of paper that you're printing from. Now, if you want to get a larger copy of the paper pattern, then you can check on my Etsy website and see if that's available. Okay? So now you can see you have a crop mark here, crop mark there. And you just want to line these up. That's all you do. Now, if this bothers you, you just go ahead and cut off at that crop mark, that point. I'm going to do that right here. Take that piece off. Okay. So now you can see it a little bit better. Okay. So now you see the entire line, how it's starting to come together. So I'm going to take some tape, some regular Scotch tape, and make sure these are lined up as best you can, and just put your tape down. Okay? It's that simple. I can just now take my regular scissors, and I'm just going to cut really close to the pattern edge. And all my patterns come with a 1/2 inch hem seam. So from here to here, actually this might look a little smaller because I tend to use a 1/4 inch, but for your patterns it'll be a 1/2 inch. So that is pretty much all there is to it. You just cut out your pattern, tape it together, and you're almost ready for sewing. Okay, once you have your pattern pieces taped together, what you want to do is you want to trim as close to the solid black edge as possible. And just go ahead and just trim it down, because you don't really need to lay out this much paper on top of your fabric. And just cut carefully. Take your time. This is not something you want to do when you're in a hurry or you have a rush. You know, just take your time cutting out your different pattern pieces. I guarantee you it'll make life a whole lot easier if you cut them correctly now as opposed to later. So just cut them out, keep them neat. And once you do this, I know it's a little bit of trouble to cut and tape your pattern pieces together, but once you do it, you won't have to do it again, unless of course you cut through your pattern, or you might need to for your next one. But this is part of the fun, at least it's part of the fun for me, in creating your own items of clothing, because you get to have something go from paper to something that's real, that you can feel and see, and you're going to get so many compliments, especially when you start picking and choosing your own fabrics. people are going to ask you, oh, where did you get that? Oh, that's so nice. And then when you tell them you made it, they're really going to be shocked. Okay, so cut that piece out. And I'm really not the neatest person in the world. It just looks like I'm being neat, keeping this all in one pile. But so it goes when you're crafting. Okay, then we're cutting this out. And this is just the bodice piece or the top of the child's dress pattern that you can buy on my Etsy store as a digital download. Yes, you can. Finally was able to accomplish that. Okay, so once again with my bodice pattern, we are going to just make sure everything lines up. And just going to use that. And I'm checking my top lines here and top lines there. Even if you're off a wee little bit, it shouldn't be the most terrible thing in the world. But if you cut it wrong, remember, it's a digital download. You can always just print another copy. And all the patterns, let me see if I can show you a pattern piece. All the pattern pieces are going to tell you like how many inches, excuse me, the length, the width of each pattern piece should be. And you can use your ruler, a simple ruler, just to make sure that the pieces are the correct size. So when you print it out, if it's supposed to be 6 inches long, then it'll be 6 inches long. Okay? Okay, let me show you one that I've already cut out. This is the bodice pattern, and you basically do it just like any other pattern. You're going to just take a piece of fabric, which of course you can't find a piece of fabric when I'm looking for it. Okay. Okay. So you're just going to take your fabric, whatever color it is, once you've got your pattern. Let me clean up my mess here a little bit. Once you've got your pattern all cut out, you're just going to lay it down onto your fabric so it will fit. And sometimes it'll tell you that you need to cut 1, or you need to cut 2, or you need to cut the pattern on the fold. But depending on which one of my patterns that you purchase, just look at the instructions, look at the video instructions, and it'll tell you exactly how many pieces you need to cut and whether you need to cut it on the fold or if it really doesn't matter. So that's all there is to it, to cutting out one of my clothing patterns. Easy peasy, right? So let's go ahead and get started making our first garment, our first outfit.